Okay. So, welcome everyone to another episode of Geek Vibes Interview brought to you by Geek Vibes Nation. I am your host, Don Fisher, and today I have with me star of films such as Neighbor, Eyes of the Dead, and The Death of April, and now starring in IFC Midnight's new horror thriller, Rentapal, Amy Rutledge. How you doing, Amy?
Hi. Thanks for having me.
And I always try to power through the word horror because I hate saying it. It's one of the only words I fumble over. I'm glad I got kind of through it. Um, so today's the day. Rent-A-Pal is released, video on demand, and select theaters. I think some drive-ins are showing it.
Yep.
And so I kind of did a little IG stalking. So I saw that you're doing a drive-in release party tomorrow. So
Yes.
does that mean that you haven't watched it yet?
I have not watched it yet.
Oh,
And so I'm actually gonna watch it for the first time when it gets dark out tonight with my family. I'm
nice.
so excited. Like I'm like about to cry at any moment because I'm just like so grateful and so overjoyed. And I don't know if you can see behind me, probably not, but we have like a screen set up outside with the projector and a bunch of like chairs set up.
Oh,
So
nice.
just a couple of family members are coming over. We have like cupcakes, and my cousin actually got this like awesome like a real popcorn machine. This thing is
Right.
like massive, and I love popcorn. And so as soon as the sun goes down, we're gonna be watching it. It's gonna be my first time watching it with my family. So I'm really excited. And I'm also really excited to watch myself in the drive-in movie theater tomorrow night. I'm like through the roof thrilled because I grew up watching drive-in theater. I mean, I watched Jurassic Park for the first time in the drive-ins, and this drive-in is like in Pennsylvania. It's in the middle of like cornfields, so like it's like perfect setting. It's very
Right.
like kind of creepy and like but the fact that I never thought that I would see myself on a drive-in movie theater because they were, they're kind of dying off, unfortunately, or
Yeah.
they were anyway before all this. So the fact that I'm kind of like circling back around, it's kind of coming like full circle for me,
Right.
and I'm just like, oh, so excited.
Is it weird to see yourself, especially like now this is gonna be with, I assume, family and friends. I know for myself personally, when I do an interview or a podcast, I never listen to it. I don't watch it. I think I sound weird. I feel like I'm gonna notice some weird thing about myself. And I'm like, you know what? If it's weird, I'm gonna let it be weird, and that'll be it. So, is it ever kind of weird when you see yourself in any of the movies you've done?
Oh yeah, it's weird. And I'm weird too. And by the way, you sound great, so don't even worry about that. But yeah, I think I'm kind of used to it now. I've been acting for maybe 14, 15 years. So definitely at first I hated it. I was like, "Oh my God, I can't watch myself. My voice sounds terrible." I just but I think as the years go on and you become more confident and you become more confident in your skills, and also getting positive feedback from other people, obviously really helps. And I don't mind it so much. I'm grateful almost when I'm watching it that I had the opportunity, that I had that experience. And it's almost like, oh, I remember that day when we filmed this scene and we did this and something funny happened. And it's just like a more of a joyful experience now
Right.
for me.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. That's good to hear. And to give everyone listening a kind of rundown what the movie is about. Set in 1990, Rentapal follows David, a lonely bachelor seeking a partner through a video dating service. Hopefully, y'all can't hear that airplane going over. Who discovers a strange VHS tape called Rentapal. Hosted by the charismatic Andy, the tape offers him some much needed company, compassion, and friendship. When David meets the compassionate Lisa through the dating service, he must face the disturbingly high price of Andy's friendship. Now, when I first got sent the screener, and I was anything horror related, thriller related, suspense, I'm there. That's my thing. And when I read the synopsis, I was like, that's very interesting. And like you saw my review, I kind of looked at it, and it's very weird. Writers, whether they know it or not, very good writers, uh, tend to kind of have this foresight that they don't realize they have until after the fact. So the fact that um, this was written and comes out now, and it kind of deals with this mental anguish of uh, being isolated, essentially, right? We're isolated now because of quarantining, and we've all been stuck in the house, getting cabin fever, to where this guy, he's stuck in a different way. I don't want to give too much away. And it's weird that I was like, oh, like, when did he write this? Like recently? Because like that's pretty pretty insightful. And I looked at your Instagram again. It's all like, I think you guys shot it around like 2018 ish.
Yeah, so I believe it was December 2018, and then we did some other shots in February of 2019. So
Okay.
yeah, it was before all this had happened. It's pretty crazy, right?
Right. So no one or and with any project that you do you do those kind of things that kind of cross your mind, like once there's a finished product and you realize like, oh, this has a lot more relevance than I expected.
Yeah, absolutely. I find that happens a lot. And it kind of makes me feel like it's this magical kind of, synchronicity that, it was like everything's meant to be. I'm a firm believer that like, everything's meant to be the way it's supposed to be. And I I definitely feel that way too about this film. Like of all the times for it to be released, and the subject matter in it all, and like we're all really going through that right now, and now we can really relate and resonate with that. It's just perfect timing. So I think that happens a lot, and that actually happened a lot on this film. Even before it started, I noticed a lot of synchronicity and coincidences that kept like popping up for me, and I was like, wow, like this is so it's just like magical. I don't even know how to explain it.
Right.
It's just surreal. And then when I'm talking to the other cast and crew members, they also mentioned a lot of synchronicity for them as well, it revolving around the film. So I kind of knew really early on, like there's something very special and magical happening here that we can't explain. And now like fast forward all this, this year and a half that has gone by, and it's like, wow, is this meant to be the right place, kind of right time, right here, right now? So
Yeah, and I feel like with that happening, that's a uh, good juju, for lack of a better term, kind of
yeah.
when things kind of fall in place, and like you said, everything syncing up in that way. I mean, and then after I myself watched it, I'm like, oh, this is really good. And then my wife watched it with me the second time I watched it, and she's not a big movie lover like I am. So sometimes if we watch the screen together, she's kind of like, it's okay, it's okay. She loved this one. Um,
Oh, amazing! Thanks.
yeah, and me and her had a conversation after the fact of breaking down what things meant and if this thing was real, if that thing was real. So with your character Lisa, um, she's kind of I guess geeky, supposed to be a geek, and which is they're very cute together. Like I remember the skate scene, and I was like, you know what? That's a fantastic date, honestly. Like I don't know if people do that nowadays. I'm sure they don't, because we're all too cool to do that. Um, but I was like, that's a great scene because it is the perfect icebreaker, and you get to be vulnerable. And I feel like that's kind of what that dating service was trying to shoot for. It was like put you in this awkward situation. Um, but did you know how to skate before doing that scene?
No, so it's funny because I actually grew up going to the roller rink. So when I was in sixth grade, that was like the thing to do. Every Friday, we go to the roller rink right down the street from me. So it was really cool when we got to go in this. I mean, you saw in the film, but this place is like, it's so perfect.
Yeah.
Like the coloring, like the neon, it's just so good. And I was just in seventh heaven because I was like, this is like my childhood all over again. And so I hadn't skated since then though. And not even like, I don't even think I really rollerbladed. And so when we first got up and we were about to like head on to like go shoot the scene, I was like crawling along, and they're like, no, Amy, like you're a good skater. Cause like David's the one that's supposed to not be,
Right.
I'm like, I'm not acting, I'm sorry. I'm like, I don't know. I need to ease into it. But then like once we got going, then it was a lot easier, and I was like, it was so freaking fun.
Did you because one of the things I liked about the movie um, is the production design. Everything felt very. I was born in '88, so I noticed a lot of the same thing because the '90s didn't the styles didn't change too much until like
Right.
2000. So
Yeah.
it felt very nostalgic. It felt very real. And I lived in Utah at one point, so the way that everything kind of looked. If people don't know that Colorado, Utah area is very Midwestern, the way everything kind of looks and feels. So that, with the clothes and how everything was put together, it was great. It added that extra layer to the movie. So did you have any input at all on your character and how she looked?
Yeah, I did. So even for the audition, I wore these glasses that I had, and I really wanted her to wear these glasses, and I even like waited until the very last minute because I was away when I got the audition request, and I'm like, I have to get home, and I have to wear these glasses because I just thought they were perfect, and it just came from an inspiration that I don't even know where, but I sent that in, and then they were like, yeah, we love it. And then I was like, I have really curly, frizzy hair in real life. Do you think, like, I just think that she has to have this hair, And they were like, yeah, perfect. We love it. So in that regard, for sure. But Brandon was like the production designer and the costume designer and did like the set design. He is just phenomenal. Like the costuming, like I couldn't pick it better myself, and they were all things that I was so attracted to when I
Right.
saw the rack and I came in and we had like stuff to try on, and I was like, oh my god, like I was so giddy and like nerdy because I grew up in that time too, so like to be able to, and it's so like nostalgic for me. um and he everything he had was like on point, so I think we were very much on the same page.
Yeah, and um, I don't, and this is probably a little far fetched for myself, uh, but I do think that if they really wanted to, there's a possibility that they could do a spin-off with your character. I have some ideas. So if they want to ring with
Oh shit.
that, because like,
Let's talk.
yeah, the way I don't want to give too much, but what happened, I was like, they could do a lot with that character, like so yeah, I think there's something
Yep.
there, and I think that were perfect in that role because you did. It was like this. It was like the girl next door that she just happens to read comic books and take care of old people, um, and the two of you together, and I'm sure that there had to be some great chemistry on set, like off camera, because you guys played off each other so well. And I, weirdly enough, I think one of the creepiest things in the movie is Will Wheaton. I don't know
Mm.
how they made that so, and maybe, and I don't want to say it's Will himself because he's a great guy, but I was just like, this is it's a little unnerving. Okay, I didn't think that was gonna happen. But how was it on set? With it being such a heavy type of movie, was there a lot of levity? Because I feel like even though it is a dark movie, there's a lot of funny parts in it.
Yeah, thanks for that too. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny because I feel like my experience was just so joyful the entire time, and I just, everyone on that film was just so kind and so just excited, and I think we had a lot of fun, and we even had this game, and I think a lot of the film crew and like John and the producers, like they worked together before in other projects, but they had this game where it's called Pound the Mounds. I don't know if anyone has talked about this or if I'm supposed to talk about it. I'm sure it's not that big of a deal, but I thought it was so funny. So like basically you take like a mound bar. You know what a mound bar is?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which are like, I mean, to me, like they sound like the nastiest. Like I would not want to eat one of those things. No
I've never
offense to
got one.
mounds, but but basically, someone will randomly just chuck one at someone, and I think if they catch it, yeah. So if they catch it, they have to pound the mound. So they have to. Everyone's like pound the mound, and they have to like chug or swallow this mound bar whole, and like no one wanted to do it, so we're all like like get it away. So I mean, there was just fun stuff like that on set. Brian, who plays David, is just so entertaining and freaking funny, and I don't think I laughed so hard like in my life. And him and the woman who played Lucille, his mom Kathleen, they're just hysterical, and they get together, and in between takes they're like doing like musical numbers together, and like singing and doing like different accents, and they're just so freaking talented and fun. So there was never really any portion of the filming where I felt things were like really too dark or too serious, which is funny because the film is like completely opposite.
Right.
But I think that's what made it so successful and so magical, is because we all came together as a team. Everyone was so happy to be there. Everyone was so respectful and kind, and it was just such a joyful experience.
Yeah, and to echo my buddy Ricky, this is a, I think me and him and a couple other guys, we've all talked about, like, when we see, we watch film a lot, and we see a lot of the same, for the real big blockbuster movies, same writers, same directors, same producers, and we know that the studios got to make money, right? But that's why, I love like IFC, is that you're giving people with a real story a chance to present their art, and it usually turns out pretty great, because we don't want to see the same thing. We don't want to see remakes all the time.
Yeah.
And I've been telling people since all this started that, hey, I know you can't go to the theater, but take a chance on some of these movies on video on demand, because they get made for a reason. So give them a chance. And I doing reviews, I never try to focus on the negative aspects of a movie, because I know there's something that the writer is trying to convey, something they want to get across. And like with this one, I noticed the mental anguish. So I don't, which came first for you, on screen or theater?
I think geez, I was in like a theater program when I was in 8th grade. But then I really got my start in film. Yeah. So I was doing independent films, and then I did a couple of plays like kind of scattered in
Right.
between that. But yeah, film work was mainly my thing.
So is that something with you being, I think I saw you had like some production work and assistant director. Is that things that you see, is that, the smaller budgets, the smaller companies kind of have a better understanding of what the art can be, compared to some of these huge blockbuster popcorn flicks per se?
Um, I'm sorry, can you just repeat that real
Oh,
quick?
and so do you like have worked behind the scene? Do you kind of notice more of a artistic expression from like a smaller group, a smaller collective, like with IFC and things like that?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, like exactly what you said. There's every movie is being done and redone, and then there's the prequel and the sequel, and then like the reboots, and there's not a lot of originality, which it kind of sucks. And I think, and that's why I do love doing these independent films, because they're just they're different, they're creative, they're unique, and they're just really magical. So it actually, I've had like a really great time, and played some really interesting, beautiful characters, doing indie films that I am like so incredibly grateful for that I got a chance to do. I played some really dark characters, and yeah, so I feel like I gravitate more, especially even when I'm watching films too. Like I'd rather watch like the IFC. They have a film, that film Centigrade, I think it's
Yeah,
called.
yeah,
Did you see that?
yeah, yeah.
You watched it?
No, no, I know what you're talking about.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah. I don't know if it's actually released yet, but I'm just like, because I was watching through all the IFCs. I follow them on Twitter, and
right.
um, when they write stuff about Rent-A-Pal, but then I'll like see like, oh, what do they have going on too, and everything. I'm just like, I need to see this. This looks so good. Like this is like nothing I've seen before. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I just watched the one they put Tesla that they put out.
Oh yeah, I want to see that too.
Yeah, and it's real trippy. The way they did it was crazy. I don't know how they. So there's some things like with this with Rent-A-Pal and a movie like Tesla. Sometimes I'm like, I don't know how you put some of that together, but that's why I write and you guys do what you guys do. Um, but to get a little more personal, you're a woman of many talents. So I saw you sing. I mean, you have like you do crafts and you're an artist, and I think it was you teach yoga or meditation, and
Meditation, yeah.
so how did all this come about? Like, and how does it kind of work for you when you're acting?
As far as like, meditating and everything
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well. Yeah, so I found like it's man, meditation is really it's a real game changer, especially with acting in regards to acting. I actually started meditating because I was really sick for a really long time and I wasn't getting better and there was no cure for what I had, and there was a lot of times where I was bedridden, and so um, around that same time, and I had to take major breaks off from acting, which is really heartbreaking for me because at that time that was all that I was focusing on, like to bring value into my life,
Mm.
and that could be really dangerous, I think. And so I had to take this forced step back. And then so my sister actually bought me ceramic classes, and I had never done it before, but I was like, you know what, I need some sort of outlet because I wasn't doing anything, and I can at least sit and like play with some clay. So I started doing that and I fell in love with it, and I found it was almost meditative in itself,
Right.
just by to create it and like working with the earth, the
Yeah.
clay. It just was so it felt so soothing for me, especially in that time when things felt so hopeless. Around the same time, I started meditating as well and incorporating more self-love and self confidence. I don't want to say, yeah, like tools into my life. And so I started to realize that I could find value outside of acting. And for me, that was one of the biggest lessons that I think I could have learned, and that really inspired me a lot. And so I decided to become a meditation teacher
Okay.
because I found it helped me heal in so many ways, mentally, physically, emotionally. I had PTSD, so the meditating really helped me to survive all of that, really. And so I ended up having miraculous healing, and so I'm really grateful for that, obviously. And I attribute a lot of that to the meditation and doing things that I found brought me joy. And so when it came that I was ready to act again, I obviously brought in all of that with me. And it was so much more powerful. And I felt a lot more gratitude in approaching, and working with other people, creative. It just felt, it was just magnified by 100%. And so whenever I would, go on to go to set, I would definitely meditate beforehand. I would stretch. Because sometimes it gets a little tricky because your ego mind wants to be like, oh no, you're not good enough, or oh no, you can't do this. And
Right.
so I found that meditation has really been able to quiet that sort of that negative self-talk, or like any limiting beliefs are just like, it just washes them away, truly. So you go in feeling self-value and confidence that I haven't experienced at any other point filming things for my life. So I feel like it's a game changer and life changing for me, truly. Knowing my value, knowing my worth, through meditating and taking care of myself really in this very profound way, has been so helpful for me. And then also not having like, what's the word I want to say, there's not so much weight to the acting or like the success of the film that
Right.
brings me value or joy
Right.
into my
Okay.
life. I have other things
Right.
that I can pull from that make me happy on my day-to-day basis, and for me that was life-changing and so important.
Yeah, you definitely exude like a very positive like energy, positive vibe.
Thank
And
you.
this and it kind of adds to what I was going to ask is that I know you've had the pink hair for a while, except for in the film. Um,
Yeah,
and I love the pink hair. Is that kind
thank
of
you.
added to the energy? Did that come out of you and you were like, you know what, that's the kind of thing I'm going for?
Absolutely, yeah, because there's a lot of times where I was like, man, if I wasn't acting, I would have tattoos all over me. I would have pink hair. Maybe I'd even have a mohawk. I'm like, oh, I'll just wait for the role to come along where I could finally like do that. But I'm like, no, like you should live your life. Like you shouldn't wait or like put anything on hold just because of something that may or may not happen. And so I hit that point, and I was actually, I started writing this web series, and it's idea I've had for many years, and I finally started writing it down, where it's this post-apocalyptic sort of dystopian sci-fi, and I wanted to be this lead hero, and I wanted my hair to be pink in it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna go for it. It makes me happy. And I ended up so I teach meditation and I act, so like I can dye my hair whenever. And for meditation, people love it and it's not a big deal. I'm not like going to an office somewhere and
Right.
it's frowned upon. So I'm really lucky in that way. And also I was going away to Rome for a month by myself, and I was taking this kind of celebratory trip for myself. And I was like, oh, I'm going to be away for a month anyway, so I'm not going to be, acting. So, I'm just going to have my hair in pink. And it's really joyful, and it makes me so happy. And it's just a simple, silly thing, but every time I look in the mirror, I'm like, oh yeah, pink hair, like cool.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I thought too. I was like, I bet you when you because I'm underneath this hat, some baldness going on. So I was like, I bet when she looks in the mirror, it just makes her happy. And that's kind of like you were saying. I have a lot of tattoos, and that's my thing is that like not only do I love them, but when I look at them, I feel better. So any
Mhm.
given moment, I can look at one and I'm just like, my arm looks really cool. So yeah,
Yeah,
when I saw that, I was like, that's got to be what it is.
yeah, totally. You nailed it. That's awesome. I love that you have that too for yourself. You have like an instant like feel good thing right on your
Yeah,
body built in.
yeah. So I noticed that your resume has a lot of and some of the bigger ones, a lot of horror, thriller, dramatic type roles. Would you say that that's your favorite genre, or just the one that you like to be in more? And if it is your favorite, what are the movies or shows that you kind of lean towards?
Yeah, so I mean I loved horror films growing up. I've been watching horror films since I was a kid. And but it's really weird because now that I'm like getting older, I get really bad nightmares now. So like I
Mm.
can't really watch anything too disturbing, or because I'll just see it forever. Like I'll see the image for the rest of my life. And so I really had to take a step back from watching very scary movies. They happen to come my way. But I'm very excited and happy for that experience, just because I got to play really cool, intense, um, played in pretty gritty sort of mentally unwell, and I think that's my strengths, oddly enough. So I feel like I've really gotten able to showcase my skills in that way, so that makes me really happy. And actually it's kind of funny because when I got the interview request for Rent a Pal, I didn't know what kind of movie it was. I saw it was being done in Denver, and they kind of give like a little bit of, a blur, but I didn't know what kind of movie it was until I actually read the script later on. And they gave me the script to read, and I read it. And at one point, I was like, holy shit! Like things take a, I mean, I guess I can't really say too much, but I was like almost like, oh man, I had just said like that week that I was not going to do any more horror films anymore, because I was struggling really hard with my own mental illness. And I really wanted to do more like lighter, happier, more comedic things, because I'm like, I've been doing all these like really dark characters for a really long time. I'm like, okay, we need to like brighten things up a bit. And then I got the script and I was like, damn it, I'm like, I got to do this film. So I had to come back out of it and do this film. But generally speaking, I love doing horror films. I think it's really fun. The one film I did, Eye of the Dead, I got to get life casted and do the special effects thing, and that was really cool and exciting for me. I've also created so many good friendships from these films too, but what I tend to watch is more sci-fi, sort of like dystopian kind of
Right.
gritty. Like I like Altered Carbon, I like The Umbrella Academy. I like anything superhero too. So like the Avengers, like I would definitely be in that. um, and yeah, like I really like the sci-fi kind of thing
Yeah, it's
over
definitely
horror.
yeah, it's definitely fun. Like I watched the second season of Umbrella Academy, and I always enjoy. I'm a big Doctor Who fan, so I
Mm.
enjoy time travel. I love the playing with like kind of a historical fiction and doing these things. Yeah, it's I get you.
Yeah, I love that show. I thought that season two was just so good and like bringing in
Yeah.
all the elements and like yeah.
Um. So I think I about got everything. I guess what I was gonna ask earlier that I mixed myself up. So with you having stage and screen appearances, is there one or the other that kind of helps prepare you for the other one? Because I know stages, from what I understand and what I've seen, is that's got to be very difficult to know your lines. If you mess up, you got to keep going because you don't want to take the audience out of it. So, is there anything that helps you transition those skills to screen performances?
Yeah, I think definitely being on, and definitely knowing your shit, knowing your lines, knowing your mark, because you don't get a second chance or a second take in plays, that's it. And so it, it comes with a certain amount of preparedness that I think is really obviously helpful with showing up to set and, knowing what you're about to do and knowing your lines and everything. So I think that was really helpful for me. I've done some plays where I had to be on stage the entire time throughout the entire play. So not, not coming off, even if I wasn't speaking, I would always be in the background, doing something, and, people are watching. So yeah, I think just, knowing your stuff.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm trying to think what film would help with theater. I haven't done theater in so long, so I'm like trying to really like stretch my mind and just remember. But I think ultimately, every experience helps the other either way. You're always learning, you're always, expanding your skills. So
right. And I think lastly, so with uh, the Rona still around, but things kind of slowly opening back up, and you being on that side of the actor side, do you think that the movie industry is changed forever now? Because I know we've had a lot of um, companies and studios having to do we do VOD? Do we do theater and VOD drive-in? So I know that it's very tricky right now. So with you, since you're an actress, do you um, do you feel like it's going to be forever changed now?
I think, yeah, and as long as there's not a cure or any sort of, vaccine, I mean, we don't really know what's going to happen with all this and if it's going to keep coming around. So, um, I think mainly the notice that I've noticed is through in casting. And so there's a lot of halting now. There's some general auditions, but you don't go into a room and do a casting audition anymore now. Like you
Right.
do everything online or everything through Zoom, which at first was like kind of weird. I'm like, this kind of sucks because you don't get to really vibe with a person on that energetic level that I always really appreciate, and that like kind of gives me fuel and energy. And so you don't get to kind of get the feel of the other person as well, like everyone in the room, of course, like the casting director and the director. And um but I've gotten used to doing the Zoom kind of auditions now, and now it's kind of like, okay, I appreciate it because you get all these takes, you can take your time,
Right.
you can watch yourself to make sure you're doing a good job. And so in that way, that's been a massive change, and I don't think that's going to go back to the way it was, because I feel like it's so much easier now, and people are like, oh, we don't have to rent a space for auditions, we don't have to do that whole thing. So I think that will definitely stay the same. As far as filming goes, I don't know. And I've been listening to a lot of other people talk about it too, like directors and casting directors, and everyone's kind of like, we don't know.
Right.
And it's a scary thing, and it's really unfortunate. And I'm just, it's really sad. I feel bad for everyone that's had loss and people that have passed away. And like I wonder myself, like if I were to get hired on something right now and go to set, like I don't know if I'd be able to do it. I
Right.
don't know if I'd be able to put myself in a position to be sick or to make other people sick as well. So that's a really hard question.
Yeah, it's
um,
definitely a weird time. Like like it's one of those things where like once you're in it for so long, you have those days where you wake up and you're like, this has got to be fake, right? Like, I'm gonna wake up, I'm gonna go outside and it's gonna be,
right?
yeah, like unplugged from
Yes.
Matrix, but it's crazy.
Yeah, no,
Um,
absolutely. I still don't believe it sometimes. I'm like sometimes I go to ShopRite and I have my mask on and I just look around, everyone's wearing masks. I'm like, I just can't believe this shit's really happening right now. Like
right.
still, and it's been how many months. But yeah, it sucks. And I heard that think they had been trying to go back to production, the Batman, and
Mm,
then Robert Pattinson got
yeah,
actually sick. So I think people are going to be extra scared now and extra cautious because that's also a liability, and no one wants that to happen on set. And
right.
so I'm just praying for a cure. I'm praying for a vaccine, and hopefully, I'm confident that it will be able to go back. Maybe not for a year or two, but I think that hopefully, I'm praying and meditating about it. So putting that vibe out there.
So lastly, where can everybody find you on social media?
Oh, cool. So I'm on Instagram at Amy Rutledge 443. That's AMYRUTLEDGE 443. I'm on Twitter at Amy M Rutledge. And Facebook, I think I'm Amy Rutledge. Yeah, I'm Amy Rutledge actor.
Nice. Well, I'm so glad we got the chance to speak. I'm kind of glad we got to do it a little later because I'm at home and I can kind of like relax. But Rent-A-Pal is now in select theaters, drive-ins, video on demand. It's definitely worth the watch. You guys know I have no reason to lie, so I'm telling you the truth. Um, but yeah, I appreciate you giving us time, and hopefully you love watching yourself tonight, and your drive-in premiere goes great. It was great talking to you.
Thank you. Yeah, you too, Dom. Honestly, I had such a fun time, and I'm so excited. I feel like this is a perfect like segue into like, going into like now watching the film with my family. So I'm so grateful that you had me on, and for taking the time as well, and to write your awesome review for us. I know we're also just honored and grateful. So thank you so much.
Thanks, and I'm sure whenever you have something else pop up, I'm here. So if you reach out, I'm ready. Whenever you want to do another interview.
All right. Yeah. Same here. Same here. I'm here anytime. Thank you, Dom.
Thank you, and we'll see you later.
All right.